The Manaslu Disaster. This is Manaslu, which stands at the height of 8,163 meters, approximately 26,781 feet, making it the 8th highest peak in the world. It is situated in a vastly different terrain from Everest, in western Nepal, around 60 miles northwest of Kathmandu. Manaslu, like Cho Oyu, is seen as a stepping stone to Everest and is recognized as one of the least technically challenging summits. However, Manaslu's notoriously challenging climate is a constant challenge. The 2012 September month marks the start of the autumn climbing season. This season, most of the Everest expedition teams have instead set their sights on Manaslu. The closing of the China-Nepal border has prevented teams from accessing Cho Oyu, which has resulted in a vast number of participants. There are 30 groups totaling approximately 231 people. To reach the peak of Manaslu, climbers must pass through 4 camps higher up the mountain than base camp. Camp 1 is at an elevation of 5,800 meters, Camp 2 is at 6,400 meters, Camp 3 is at 6,800 meters, and Camp 4 is at 7,450 meters. The base camp is at an elevation of 4,900 meters. The most challenging stretch of the path, which winds through a labyrinth of treacherous seracs and deep crevices, is between Camps 1 and 2. The snow slope between Camps 2 and 3 is broad and easy to traverse. One of Manaslu's subsidiary peaks rises above Camp 3, and the area above it is occupied by a large col known as the North Col. Beyond the North Col, the route up is comprised of 2 tiring snow slopes and a small wall of seracs. There are 231 mountaineers and guides on the mountain at the moment, although not all are located at the upper camps. Camp 2 has only 12 tents, whereas Camp 3 has 25 and 31 individuals. On the lengthy exposed traverse that connected Camps 1 and 2, several incidents had occurred in the past, and this region had earned a specific reputation for being particularly prone to mishaps. After enduring rain and snow to reach Camps 2 and 3, climbers must be temporarily relieved to be out of the highly exposed area below. However, they have no idea what the following day will bring. September 23, 2012, at 4:30 a.m., while the climbers are still in their tents, a serac falls from a height of 7,400 meters. The serac causes an avalanche to cascade down the main climbing route's 600-meter snow slope, crushing and destroying tents before tossing them off the mountain. It demolished all 25 tents situated at Camp 3 and dragged some tents from Camp 2 several hundred meters down the slope. This is the worst mountaineering disaster since 1996. Even though some tents at Camp 2 were shattered in the avalanche blast, no one was seriously hurt and the campers managed to survive. Those who live begin aiding others in finding warmth and assisting with their snow removal. Since the number of people below the snow level is unknown, attention has been focused on those above ground, realizing there was little hope for the buried victims. At dawn, they discover pieces of tents and bodies of the dead and wounded littered across the snow. The range of injuries is extensive. While some survivors emerged unscathed from the 1,000-foot fall, others suffer fatal internal injuries and pass away rapidly. Some people arrive and are found lying on the wreckage, while the tent next to them is completely buried in the heavy, suffocating debris left by the avalanche. People are dying in their tents, trapped inside with dead bodies wrapped around them. 5 hours had passed, during which survivors helped individuals, grieved with them as they watched their friends perish next to them, dug a platform for the helicopters, and moved the injured people near enough to be picked up by the helicopters when they arrived. At the same time, they are searching for the missing and digging up the bodies. At 9:45, a Simric Air B-3 high-altitude chopper arrived to begin evacuating the injured mountaineers. The wounded are taken to base camp, and those in the most severe conditions are airlifted to Samagoan for further treatment before being sent to Kathmandu. An improvised treatment center has been established at the base camp, and several larger groups have taken stretchers, oxygen, and medical supplies down to the helipad. As a result of the early morning mishap, helicopters are sent to the outlying area to search for the missing. The weather is too severe and the altitude is too high for the police to participate in the rescue operation. Only experienced personnel familiar with the region were called upon to assist in the search and rescue operation. The avalanche took 31 people with it, and a total of 9 bodies were found, with an additional 4 people reported missing and assumed dead. 3 helicopters from Simrik Air and Fishtail Air dispatched from Pokhara and Kathmandu saved the lives of the remaining 18 climbers. Most fatalities and injuries appear to have involved European teams based at Camp 3. Many people from Nepal, Spain, Italy, Germany, and a few from France were killed. 1 Canadian mountaineer went lost. Despite continuing until late afternoon, the search and rescue operation was called off owing to adverse weather conditions. 18 flights took place this day, and 14 of them were evacuations. It is September 24, 2012, the next day after the incident. Searchers on foot are joined by helicopters in a desperate attempt to locate the missing mountaineers, and they take the last of the bodies from the mountain. A more complete picture of the circumstances leading up to and shortly following the catastrophe at Camp 3 has emerged from the interviews with rescue workers and experienced Manaslu guides conducted later in the tragedy. Camp 3 was established in a different location this year compared to where many teams had set it in previous years. As a result, it was situated lower on the mountain and was therefore more susceptible to the avalanche that eventually destroyed it. The snowpack structure was also perilous, as avalanche specialists put it. Canadian skier Greg Hill discovered a decomposed base at 23,000 feet with his German teammates 10 days before the avalanche. They were worried about an area that would become the slide's epicenter, but Hill said that there wasn't sufficient snow at the time to be concerned. That unexpectedly altered. Over the course of 7 days, the top mountain received snowfall of several feet per day due to a severe storm. The 231 permitted mountaineers, skiers, guides, and Sherpas had little choice but to wait out the storm in base camp. When it finally stopped, everyone was so afraid of avalanches that they didn't go back down to the lower slopes for at least 3 days. Nepal is home to 8 of the world's 14 highest mountains. Some mountaineers blame global warming for the worsening weather and more significant dangers they have faced in the mountains in recent years. Ang Shering of the Kathmandu-based Asian Trekking Agency has prepared hundreds of excursions and reports that low snow levels and increased climbers have made conditions challenging on Manaslu. There wasn't much danger on this mountain before, but that's no longer the case. Manaslu is now regarded as one of the most dangerous mountains with dozens of fatalities in recent years.